Hey! I thought I would go with the Krusty the Clown intro on that one. No, I can't. Too early. This is the BANGover Podcast. I am Scott Allen. This is Chris Myers.
Howdy doody.
We are trying out our new recording space, which...
Setup, space, all of the stuff.
Yeah, I'll take a picture, post it on the gram, and everyone check us out on BANGover Productions. And we're just using my room, some
It's
sound.
just my room.
Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of my bed, really fill it out in here. I don't need to sleep. I just need to record and produce and play some licks on drums, that kind of thing. So what do I need this bed for? What we need is more space in here. You know what I mean? So that's the next step. More sound isolation panels. These cool fancy stands that were causing us a lot of Terminator sounds. A lot of Static X sounds were coming from them. Little ding.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
Yes, today is Static X, and we are doing the newest album. Chris, what the fuck is it called? Project Regeneration, Volume 1. As the name suggests, this is different. If you know Static X, you know Wayne Static passed away in 2014. And that this is kind of like like the original members, but again, it's kind of like a supergroup in some ways because of the singer being a mystery. Like no one knows who Zero is. And if you haven't seen the videos, please go check out Static X on YouTube. Stop this podcast right now. Go watch the promo video. Go watch the first music video they had. The guy wears like a zombie Static X or a Wayne Static mask, and no one really knows who he is. There's a lot of speculation. A lot of people think it's like the singer from Dope. I think if I had to pick, it would be... Actually, I don't know. I had someone in mind that I thought it could possibly be, but a good singer can make his voice sound however he wants. So it's really hard to tell,
Yeah. Well, Zero also did the guitar programming, production.
For this
He did
album,
a lot of stuff, which is like surprising considering how like it still sounds like Static X
and
in a lot of ways, and like
it's kind of weird because the question comes like, is he like if you don't know, maybe now you do. This is all brought together because the founding members of Static X wanted to make something in tribute, as well as old recordings that were found of Wayne Static when he was recording Start a War, and probably like around 2012 where the band kind of like broke up and he went on tour as a solo artist. We're totally going to get into all this stuff, but it's weird because there's a lot of Wayne Static on here, and Zero is kind of like filling in. It kind of, like you said, after song 3 or 4, it kind of flip-flops back and forth, but it always sounds like Wayne is somewhere in the background, somewhere in every song, no matter what. Like there's always a speckle of him, or it's just his feeling, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He has a lot of like... different ways of having his vocal sound. He's a master manipulator. Like he can scream, he can sing, he can like hold. He's really good at like, I don't know how to even describe it, but like manipulating his voice. He's a master. He's a really good singer. He can shriek, but he can also sing songy.
Yeah.
I'll try not to move on this stool. I'm so sorry.
Now I think also that. Thing that kind of interested me and was fascinating was the like that alternating aspect, but then the music writing aspect. Like a lot of the riffs, maybe were just a speck of a riff or a song, and like Zero having being credited on the music as well as like the vocals.
Yeah,
so
to a degree.
He also is credited. Almost more than Wayne in a sense as guitar. Like Wayne literally has no guitar credit.
Well,
So it's like,
a lot of the old recordings they found, for whatever reason, it was just his vocals.
yeah,
And like sometimes there'll be samples, and like I think one or two maybe had a drum track or something like that. But all the guitar was gone.
yeah,
So they had to rewrite the songs around his vocals. So isn't that like a little crazy? And I was going to get into this later, but this whole thing has to do with 3 albums. All right, people? It's this album. It's also Start a War, because a lot of these songs were like from that album that just weren't used. And Wisconsin Death Trip, because of 2019, when this came out, that was the 20-year anniversary of Wisconsin Death Trip. And when they found these, like songs, they weren't even like the original thought wasn't even to make a full length album. What they were going to do is go on tour just for the Wisconsin Death Trip 20th anniversary. But in doing so, like release a single or two of like old shit that they found. But they found so much more that kind of like accumulated into a bigger album, and, you know, getting the blessings of like Wayne Static's family and stuff like that to allow them to do this. Was one of the things they had to go out and do before they actually came up with this whole idea to regenerate this album. And but it's those 3 albums because they wrote this album in the mindset of Wisconsin Death Trip. Isn't that crazy? They were thinking about Wisconsin Death Trip and how that album sounded, and that was how they wrote all the guitar for this. And it's super insane because on this album comes back the original drummer, the original guitar player, and always Tony Campos. But that's crazy because all 3 of the original members came back. And can you go over it? We got Tony Campos on bass.
yeah. Tony Campos, bass guitar and backing vocals, which is interesting if you listen to like any live or even watch live. He's doing a lot of those.
He
like,
screams. I don't think he has a mic in front of him.
he's not doing he's not doing those, but he is doing some of the like yells and stuff, and the like. I'm trying to think of a song offhand, but I mean, if you just they did the Cannibals Live album, and if you listen to that, you can clearly hear Tony in the background singing.
He's always mouthing words on stage anyways. Anytime you see him, he's always like
he even with
shouting.
Soulfly was doing like backing vocals, so he does do that.
He loves to sing.
Koichi Fukuda.
That was amazing. I can't believe you said that.
He did the guitar, keyboards, and programming. You have Ken J filling in on drums. Wayne Static doing the programming and lead vocals for track 2, which track 1 is kind of like a
From
weird,
the grave,
it's like
dude.
it's a kind of like this $1 million man sort of like, we will rebuild him. We will, you know.
So let's kind of like we're doing a new setup. We're doing a new. We're not playing songs. Please let us know if you want us to bring back the songs. But we were thinking like this could help us further this podcast if we kind of take away those songs because of, you know, legalities, and I don't know if I use that legality word.
Well, we're trying to make.
I don't know if that's the right word, but
this be our own sort of type of content,
right?
Something we could, you know.
So let's
stand on its own.
So we didn't play any songs at the beginning for a reference point, but let's get like in the start of this album. The first song is Regeneration.
Yeah, and that's like it's just samples. It's got
older songs.
Yeah, and it's basically like a hype sort of song intro. You know, it's only see here, it's only a minute long, so it's literally just like, you know, hyping you up for the real song that's about to come. And that is Edsel Dope, Koichi Fukuda, and Tommy Schaefer, who are also credited for like additional programming and stuff. So that's who's responsible for this track.
And it's so weird. You hear like stuff. It's like, so stupid. Yeah, so very stupid. You get that in the beginning of like Wisconsin Death Trip. Mm-hmm. And I forget what that's called. It's called like the Death Static or something like that.
Well, there's a lot of that too. There's a lot more. I would say this is pretty, you know, they've always been industrial, but this is pretty industrial. Like the last couple songs get really, you know, with like the playing of like horror movie, like samples and stuff like that.
It all has a very eerie vibe.
Yeah.
It has I know it's probably just because of shout out to Queen of the Damned. And it's pretty much what put this band like on the map in a higher scale. Like smaller fans of the new metal scene obviously noticed them when they first came out, like in '99 with Wisconsin Death Trip. But it wasn't until that song Cold that everyone was like, what? You know? But as I'm saying, like, I'm bringing that up because all their music always had this sound of just being like it would be a weird horror movie, but more in the sense of like it being like super awkward or like body dysmorphia in some ways, you know, like machine attached to a human torso, you know, like a cyborg. It's the best way to put it.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of see that. They always had that kind of
It's
sound,
gory, but
but
metal.
I think of like that song "Cold" because it's like super. I mean, popular, but just so you could kind of like.
So cold.
But if you think about how that song starts, it like dun dun, and it also has that creepy like synth in the beginning, that bang bang ba bum bang bum
Yeah.
bum bum bum.
It's the most simple song.
Bum. That's like a little synth line that's like going underneath the like heavy guitar riff, but that's like that creepy element, you know. And they always have that in their songs where it's like this weird.
It's so good, yeah.
Almost as like The Cure, kind of, where it's just like it's.
We were like,
it's
where the fuck is the keyboard
It's
player?
fantasy almost.
Yeah.
But then didn't you have songs on this album, or even think of I think it's Destroy All, maybe.
Off of
maybe,
Cannibal?
Maybe Push It. It's
That
got
would have been.
it's got like
Wisconsin Death Strip.
like hammers. You know what I mean? You hear that like clank of hammers.
Yeah.
You know.
Also, it sounds like a piston knocking on an engine.
Something like that, yeah.
Where
Where it's like,
he was a car freak, you know, there at the end.
I think even this, maybe the third song on this album, one of these songs also have that clank sort of.
Worth Dying For.
I think.
Ironic title.
Yeah, they do bring that sort of industrial. You know, it's literally somebody hitting metal, and they recorded it, and then you just sample that. And
Yeah,
and you lay it underneath the drums, and it really has that like.
He was the biggest fan of like something that sounded awkward, like looking for samples. Like they would use an old what do you call it, digital drum like pad or a electric drum set, if you will, but like one of those programs, but a really cheap one, and it came with like really generic ass sounds. But the most awkward or the most offset sounds were the ones he always loved to pick to put in the songs. Like it was just that's something Wayne just fucking loved to do. Just make it sound awkward or like it makes you feel weird a little bit, you know? It makes it feel like a little bit desolate, like we are in the Terminator like future, you know, and like robots have taken over the world.
Yeah.
That's all I can think of when I listen to this. That and vampires.
When you listen to the band or this album?
The band.
The band, yeah.
Because the band always, they have their formula, you know, they have their sound. Wayne just was a genius on making that like, dude, I could never, like, I don't even know that many songs off of Starter War, but you could put any one of those songs on, and in 10 seconds, I'd be like, Static X, you know? Anything. Because they have that unique sound. So
Yeah.
I don't really know a lot of bands that sound like them that are as big as them. I think they're like really, maybe not the founders of this, but there's, obviously, I could think of like MSI and stuff like that, where it's like rock and roll industrial, but you know, dope. There's a lot of bands, but something about Static X is like how his cadence of his singing.
True. I mean, I would say
the jerky guy, you know, Slim Jim dude.
I think that there's a lot of later ministry in, you know, I think Static X went even heavier, but I think there was maybe a little cross where like at some point, like early Static X and like where ministry later was going kind of like intertwined with like the driving force of the songs, like simplicity, but just like repetition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I was looking at learning some Static X songs earlier today, and like Push It and like Destroy All those songs, it's literally like one riff, and he just milks that riff in many different ways.
And
you know
other
what I mean?
things change, like the pace of the drums,
maybe
or the timing
pace,
of the drums.
He's just doing. There's like
the
weird
vocals pick up.
The guitar will cut from a higher, like in your face distortion to like a lo-fi distortion, like on Destroy All, that da 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 da. You know, the main riff.
Yeah.
That's the chorus. That's the verse. That's every riff in the song. Is that just whenever it's the verse and he's singing, it's more like. It's got that kind of up. It's on the upbeat on the drums.
Yeah. The drums will go like straight forward with like the double bass, and then he's screaming, and then it's just like the up downs.
Yeah, but you know
and
that
it
part
really does change the way it feels.
the distortion in the guitar is all like buried in the mix. It's all lo-fi kind of. You can barely hear it. It's the drums and the vocals that are at front and center there.
Yeah.
Then the guitar comes in, and it's the same riff.
And
He's just milking it for like up down, up down.
And
Here's
a lot
the
of
verse.
synthesizers.
The synth is really going on.
It's like the top part that you hear in your headphones. It's like right there at the top of your head. And then it's like the drums and bass. And then for whatever reason, the guitar is like buried.
But it seems like when it comes to the songwriting, it seems like you have this really good riff and you just use that. It's not like we come up with a riff
clever.
and another riff and another riff. It's like, no, this really good riff is the centerpiece of the song.
It's
so
like the Aerosmith approach.
Yeah, so it's like
chorus, a little verse, a little bit of a verse.
It's just
but
the
more
chorus is
chorus.
It's like you said.
That's how you write a catchy song.
You swap out the drums or you swap out the synth, the vocal line, but the guitar part, the riff, the catchiness, the heaviness is still there.
Yeah, what makes the song, and it keeps you on track.
And like, a lot of these...
Everything flows in a Static X song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's not a lot of solos. It's more just like the live album, there was some solos, but, you know, you're live and you kind of... But, you know, this Regeneration album, not really many leads. It's more just like, you know, the production quality. Like everything just sounds really good because of the sound effects, the samples they're using, the way they're blending everything in, multiple layers of vocals, you know, just the way he's even, Zero's trying different stuff. You know what I mean? Like things probably Wayne might not do. Or it's like, what is it, song 10? I can't remember the name of it. You got it pulled up there.
Let's see. I'm going to shout out to Spotify. Please number your tracks on the side of the fucking album. Please.
I got it here. It's the Ostego Placebo.
I wouldn't be able to read that.
And on that one, he's doing some like weird tribal, like,
you want to play just a little tiny?
I mean, you could, just a little bit of like sample of it here. Maybe like a little bit towards the big like riffages.
Dude, that sounds insane.
Right there. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's not something Wayne would necessarily do. That's some like weird, like, I'm thinking of like Green Inferno or something, some weird like tribal, like the way.
I would disagree, you know? Wow, that knob is weirdly sensitive. Because he's always done like weird shit like that. You know, I remember one time I was listening to it and it was like way back in the day, and I was like, I just fucking love this. And I remember you and Ryan sitting there, and you guys were just like kind of making fun of me or like dancing like robots in the corner, because that's what it always feels like.
Well, that's Zero singing that song.
Dude, that's one of the coolest songs, dude.
I know, and
that lower vocal tone, like that.
That's what he would do.
He has that octave where it's like if that's Zero doing that, holy fuck.
He's going from that low, that devastation, whatever part, and then that So it's like a blending of like
kind of
weird contrast of like
it's
completely like
vocal parts there.
That reminds me of like Brujeria. Like, you know, you have this like really the singer, but then you'll have somebody that's the backing singer that sounds like a shriek. It's just like it's almost in the highest register. You know what I mean? It's almost like death metal, where it's like.
But he definitely does stuff like that, because if you were talking about like Cannibal, you know,
I can see
because he does dun 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 dun, and he goes like ta 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 ta, you know, in the beginning of that song, and then it's just you know, going faster.
Yeah.
Can't you see the bullets running duster? Dun 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 dun. You know.
Yeah.
So he always like spits words out.
He's always been really a spitter too. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
like
a tongue twister. Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah.
A lot of it makes you think of like System of a Down. And maybe we should get back to like use a little bit of our old format here and talk about like the first time we heard them personally, like the first time you we registered them, I should say. Because
we went into it on in the single episode. We did do an episode on.
Oh right, we talked about this
second song which came out. Which
I
mean it goes back to just Machine and the first album, Wisconsin, just seeing those albums and listening to them, because at that time that was what was going on. But Static X stuck out because they were like new metal, but we're going to incorporate more industrial side. So that's where it's like While Korn and like Slipknot were like maybe going crazy in like the songwriting where there's like it's more complex. I would even those songs are way more complex than Static X songs. Static X is just about like really good riffs, fun, and it's gonna tickle your ears on like a different level than Slipknot and Korn, which are of that period.
It's also it's the best way to create a band is to take maybe something that's popular at the time or something that you're like everyone's doing, but also mix it with something else. Korn did hip hop, it was like Nine Inch Nails meets hip hop or Jay-Z.
Yeah,
that's what they were saying. So they were like I guess whatever, like the new metal, because the thing about new metal is the writing structure, like no solos. It's a very coursey. It's set up like a pop song.
It's based on the riffs.
Yeah, it's a fucking pop song in and out. But take that and mix it with like industrial samples. Do your Ministry thing, if you will, or your.
I think that's Static X, and
your Pig Face.
Almost every song is like has a hook in some way, is gonna catch you. Yeah,
it always has a riff that just fucking smacks, dude.
It's almost like trust, like tried and true, where like you can always put on a Static X album and be like, it's gonna be good. Like I'm gonna hear some really catchy riffs that are just gonna stick with you,
and it's fun.
And that's exactly, it's just fun.
Yeah, you put it on, you're like, I'm having a good day, dude. Yeah,
he's not.
Or it could be cold.
The lyrical,
it could be very emotional at times.
But the lyrical content never is like. I don't know. It's not on the level of like say
dude,
Cannibal.
I don't know
where
what he's
like,
fucking saying.
Well, I mean,
I can sing you a whole song, but I wouldn't even know the words I was saying.
But I just mean,
they're so distorted.
But to the point of the catchiness, there really isn't. What he's saying. You know what I mean? Like, whenever you need to know what he's saying, you can remember the lyrics, like to Cold, or like
or Push It,
Destroy All.
We always said he was
love,
like,
was it Love Dump?
If you wanted to think about it, like he was sitting on the toilet, he's like, I need it. I see he's reaching for the toilet paper, but he can't grab it.
Or
ooh, you push it.
That Destroy All. It's like the lyrical content is like, it might be like some might say negative or whatever, but it is, it's not dumbed down either. It's just it's simple. It's to the point.
Yeah,
like Destroy All. Okay.
Oh, I'm thinking that was probably on Shadow Zone. Destroy All.
Yes.
I'm ridiculous, and I don't know why. Like when I was thinking about past albums, I left Cannibal out, and now I'm just leaving fucking my
Shadow
Zone.
That's a great
Shadow Zone's my favorite.
Yeah, but to that, Destroy All also super simple song, super simple chorus. Destroy All.
Yeah,
like that's literally like what I mean.
And the songs just get catchier from there on that album. Like it just goes and goes and goes. It really doesn't stop. But those first 3 albums are like that. I like Cannibal a lot, but I don't think I was in the right headspace when I bought the album, because I was like one of those people that I like went out and I didn't have a Spotify. Like I just spent $10 a week or a month on one album, So I'd always go out and be like, I got to get the new.
Well, let's.
We all went to go buy that last Slayer album, World Painted Blood, in 2012. Not the last one, but the last one with Jeff.
Let's see what Cannibal was 2007. So trying to think what else was around in 2007.
Oh, dog shit, dude.
Yeah,
it was a horrible time for music.
Yeah, I can't really even.
No, like nothing was that good, dude. Because we're getting into like 2008, the financial crisis, that whole market crash, and music wasn't even that great. Like the biggest bands at the time are like Kings of Leon and shit like that, dude. Where it's like Wolf Mother. I know you like Wolf Mother, but come on. It's like that's the biggest bands right now. I don't know.
Well, I mean, look at what's. I mean, I would
it was
say
a weird time.
Look at Greta Van Fleet, like right now. That's like Wolf Mother.
And I think
what I mean? It's like it's so
time,
like of the time. It's basically retro coming to now.
Yeah, and we're getting the hardcore. Like I think it's like a rise. Like the hardcore scene is blowing up, and it's gonna die in the next like 2 years.
It's probably already on the down.
It's like at the
already
peak. I think 2007 was its peak.
Oh no, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then it's just on a decline. Like a lot of music genres were like that. We had the whole black metal thing that was like a huge rise and fall. And it kind of like went like I can't even think, because I shout out to the Rock MDMA. Am I saying that right?
What do you do?
That YouTube channel.
I have no idea.
Whatever. I was trying to. I'll shout it out when we come back from our next break. But he breaks down genres and like how they rise and fall, you know, in the times and the things that made it happen, the situations, the zeitgeist, if you will, the atmosphere, what people were thinking. Plus, most of the time, people just fucking grow up. You come out with your first album with Constant Death Trip, a bunch of 15-year-old kids fall in love with you. 15 years later, they're 30. They don't really, you know, and I say like 15 years, at that point, they were already broken up. But, you know, it's just really hard to like we said in past episodes, like to just keep following a band. Especially in the quote unquote new metal, you know what I mean, scene. I didn't go with Korn. I didn't go with Rob Zombie on their ride. I picked and choose, you know. I stayed with Static X for a long time. I stayed with Ministry for a long time. Still stayed with Manson, even though I didn't really listen to the last album a lot. But I always try to like, Spotify will pop up and be like, hey, new whatever, you know, like it definitely told me new Static X, and I was like, okay, cool, like definitely gonna check that out. Or new, you know, Machine Head, or a band that hasn't done shit in a long time. Like if Power Man 5000 came out with something like a single tomorrow, Spotify's gonna let me know based on my algorithm of how many times I've played Static X songs or I've played Korn songs. They're like, he's a fan of the new metal, you know, so. Blah, blah, blah. I listened to Slipknot a lot. I like those first albums, you know?
Yeah.
And for me, that's how I found Static X, was falling in love with, like, Korn and fucking Slipknot and stuff like that. And they just came in with it, you know? So they were just in the catalog, you know? I even think, like, at that time, you could go to, like, the malls, like a CD store in the mall, and they had, like, a section just that was, like, in you. And you could just find all this fucking shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that it's shit, I'm just saying, like, think about it, people. If we're talking about the times here, oh my God, we still got Jinkos on, you know what I mean? And we're talking, like, bands like Cold Chamber and shit like that, where there's so many of them, dude. I can't even start with the list.
It was a fad in the metal scene of itself, and that's kind of why it's maybe shamed or just not looked at as serious music or whatever, because it was like a pop fad in the genre.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's just kind of like groove metal kind of brought it up from here. And I like breakdowns and I like detuning, you know? So fuck everyone. I don't like baggy pants anymore. That shit's not that comfortable. Well, I guess it's kind of comfortable.
Yeah.
It's just not very aesthetically pleasing. And plus, you can't run in a pair of Jinkos. Where are you going, you know? What if zombies happened right then? You're fucked.
Yeah.
Ain't going nowhere wearing soaps, dude. Slippery ass shoe with fucking, that's dumb.
Wheat Heelys or whatever.
Yeah, dude. Just roll away. I'm out, dude. But that's kind of where I like find myself with Static X, is like in that time frame of like me growing up as a kid, and I still have the burned CDs of like with Constant Death Trip, you know what I mean? And then going out and like buying the actual album.
Yeah.
I fucking loved Static X. I felt like no one, like in my small town of Texas, of Liberty Hill, like no one cared about Static X. It was like my personal band, you know? It was like, it was just for me.
Even as big as they were, they still seemed to be really small.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
but
it was.
That being said, they like started the festival, like
It was a niche. You were like, even amongst like people, you know, like going to school or something, it's like Static X was on MTV and had videos and was relevant in a way, but it was not like everybody was into it. Or
I don't think they were making millions, but they were working their ass off, and you just saw them everywhere. You saw them on MTV,
like it's a name,
you saw them in Rolling Stones, you saw
song,
them touring on Ozfest, any festival. Dude, this band worked their fucking ass off for like a good 12 years. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we can like really dive into like the Static, if you will. That's what their first band was called, and then they were like, "Oh, there's too many bands called Static. Oh, Static X." Then, dude, this whole band is built off of that type of mentality. I'm not even joking, dude. So let's, since we can't play a song, we're gonna do an ad read. Sorry, y'all. But I promise I'll chime in a few songs here. Chris is looking at me.
Yeah.
We'll do a secret, just me and you. I was thinking on that commercial break, maybe we should just like change the title of this podcast to the groove metal podcast, the new metal, the 90s metal podcast.
BANGover Grooves.
We just seem to always come back to this
The groove metal.
We always talk about the same fucking albums. It's like another one we're doing from now, Power Man 5000. So we're gonna be right back in the same time frame here pretty soon. So let's talk a little bit about Static X and a bit of their backstory. Static X was from Los Angeles, California. In 1994 they formed, and multiple member changes, but like I said in the beginning of this, the members that are doing this album right here are all the original members. It started with help me out with the drummer's name again. I fucking suck at podcasting.
Ken J.
Ken J and Wayne Static met, I believe, at a bar or something. Not important. I'm fucking this story up, but they were the first ones to meet. I believe they became roommates when they first moved to Los Angeles, and started working in multiple bands, left and right.
And he auditioned for the Smashing Pumpkins, but was told by Billy Corgan he was too metal to be in the band.
And was even crazier than that, one of Wayne Static's first bands, Deep Blue something, one of the members was Billy Corgan. And then Billy Corgan wanted to just focus all his time on Smashing Pumpkins, but I had no idea that Wayne Static, applied for Smashing Pumpkins. But that's a weird thing, you know what I mean? Like, what a weird fun fact, if you will, that they were in the same band, before Smashing Pumpkins even started. Wayne Static and fucking Billy Corgan. What? Mind blown. Just kind of going through multiple like names, like Dill was one of them. I sent you that picture with Wayne Static, just has like straight black hair.
Never got that picture.
Oh my god, did it not send?
No.
Oh my god. I'll post. That's probably going to be my picture for this post because it's so. I've never seen him with his hair like that. It's always been up, and it was Dill. And then I believe when they were recording their first album, they were like, "Let's call the band Static." And in doing so, like way too many bands named Static, and just put an X on it. Like I said, it was that fucking easy. And just going from there, he grew out the goatee. He put his hair up like that just to set himself apart from everyone else, Like we were talking in the Deftones episode, how, again, these bands just got grouped together because they were like, oh, go on tour with Korn, or like, oh, you're part of the new metal thing. This is who you're going to be with. This is who you're condoning to, Hot Topic fucking customers.
Yeah.
And they want to set themselves apart in a way. So in doing so, not only in their music, but like in their image, And we always fucking joke around like that. We always dance like robots when we listen to it. Dun, 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 dun. It's fucking Terminator Oscillator, dude. That's gonna be the name of my Static X cover band. I mean, that's a fucking awesome title. Stuff like that was always, like we were saying, it just made them like goofy fun. But we have their first album was Constant Death Trip, and then 2 years later, obviously it all worked in a 2-year time frame back then. We get Machine, and then again 2 years later, Shadow Zone, Cannibal, Start a War, and then Cult of Static, and then the band goes through like a weird breakup. Maybe you didn't know, but Wayne Static was a little bit of an alcoholic, and some troubles were like kind of occurring in the band. And I'm not actually sure what happened, but there was just kind of a falling out between him and Tony Campos, where Tony, there were some great interviews out there or statements because of all the controversy about this album in particular that we'll get into. Stated that he was put in some like really hard places with Wayne Static because of his drinking, and he would just kind of like do ridiculous shit sometimes. So it kind of became a problem after a while, and not wanting to leave the band, but Wayne becoming frustrated with the rest of the band as well, went on that solo, the whole pig hammer thing, if you will. But in doing so, when it was just Wayne Static and we were saying like, oh, we should have gone seen.
Yeah.
It was actually just him playing Static X songs, but doing
I figured.
it was that, and he was like, no, it's a solo thing. But on tour, he just played Static X songs. He was just playing Static X with a whole different group of people, and Tony was not cool about it at first, but he understood and wanted to give space and let things breathe before coming back and reforming. But it just didn't happen because of constant drug use, alcohol abuse, and just being like in your late 40s, have been doing that for about 20 years already. It puts a toll on your body, and we've talked about that before too. It's like, if you don't stop doing hardcore drugs like that by the time you're like fucking 35 at least, it's not going to be good. You're not going to be able to be 50 and get up on stage and play. You just won't be able to. Like, Lemmy went for a long time, but he was a different breed of human.
I was gonna say, these people that do it,
Odorous,
they're
Horrendous,
just one in
like Dave
1,000. It's not everybody. So,
but the Dave Brocky is the same way, where it's just like you lived a hard life and you kept doing drugs when you're old.
Like even somebody who did it for a long time and then stopped, still has a lasting effect, even if you want to continue. So this whole album's built from that situation of him going into the solo project. Like him just leaving, and then all these people like just being like, oh, one day we'll come back and play with them, But the whole tragedy happened. And then, wanting to go back on tour to just do the 20-year anniversary of, with Constant Death Trip in tribute, finding all these old recordings and stuff from the album Start a War, which is a funny story because they recorded Start a War and they gave the album to the record company, and they were like, I don't know. Can you go back in and record some more songs? We think you could be just doing something a little bit better, And he was like, well, fuck you, like, fuck. And then later on that night, he went and just hammered out 2 songs that became the singles, or like some of people's favorite songs. I can't really, off the top of my head, but Go to Start a War, like, it's probably song 1 or 2, you know what I mean? But it became some of the biggest songs on that album. And he was like, well, fuck, I guess my producers were right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So because he had to do that and the record company made him do that, there was all these songs that were left off of Start a War, or like concepts that were left off. And a bunch of them piled up, I'm sure there was some, like between Cannibal and stuff like that too, there was a couple of songs that didn't make it that they're just pulling from now. But in the interview I listened to, a lot of it was from Start a War, and then it was just the vocals that they really found. For whatever reason, a lot of the guitar was just gone. And then they started building it around the sound of With Constant Death Trip. So it's so bizarre. Yeah, it seems like it started as like so Tony, he found the demos, and those, like you're saying, the Start a War stuff. They were recorded on a DA88. And so he found them while he was looking for live backing tracks for the upcoming tour. But the recording technique on those, the vocals and the instruments are recorded simultaneously on 2 different tapes. But some of the tapes are lost and damaged, so that's why you only have, like, maybe he did record vocals and guitar, but the tape that had the guitar got damaged, so you only have the vocals. Or maybe you only have the guitar and then his vocals got damaged. So that's the resulting of, like, some of the songs may be written but don't have vocals, and vice versa.
But still, the concept of writing an album around just someone singing, and then having that thought process in mind of, like, we need to make it sound like our first album is nuts, and they nailed it in a lot of ways, in my opinion. Please listen to the album before you listen to this episode. Pause this, go over Regeneration, Volume 1.
That was some of the accolades that have come out recently because of it, like the acclaim and stuff. It's gotten pretty good reviews, and basically citing that, how it basically is like Wisconsin Death Trip, but has more of the style of Shadow Zone and Start a War.
I think it's like it's more of like the what do you call it? Like the musicianship because of just them touring their butts off. When they went on their first tour, they thought maybe they would be gone for 2 weeks. They were gone for a year. They played 300 shows in 1 year and then just kept going. So they became better musicians, you know? And you could totally tell that on Machine and fucking especially Shadow Zone. Great songwriting.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's like you're saying, it kind of came together out of just looking for, you know, backing track. Like I guess
maybe put out a single.
Looking to maybe, you know, they were, I think, doing the Zero thing before even the album, right? They were still just like touring. So while Tony's looking through this back catalog for stuff for them to use live, like some of Wayne's backing vocals that they could, you know,
gonna put it in on the live show because when they play live, it's like they play to a click or something.
Yeah, it's really
just like the album. Sorry
on
about
the money. Yeah. So, you know, that's very coincidental that it all even came.
Yeah, and to make a full length 12-song album too.
Yeah, and then you also this album is kind of wrapped in some more controversy because not only the death and then the let's make music off this person
and then like kind of copy him just to like everyone, the people that are mad about it, it's like they're mad at the band that they're trying to like make a quick cash, like a cash grab out of this because, we can sell this, you know, he's dead, whatever, we can do it. It's like, no, they did it as in tribute to their friend, as well as like they love this band. This is where all these musicians got their start. Tony Campos, fucking Google him right now. Like, look at his Wikipedia page. He's played with fucking everyone, and it's because of Static X, you know?
Yeah. So there's kind of a controversy there where it's like it might rub some people wrong that they're even still doing stuff.
They're just haters.
Yeah, but then you also have this Trip Ison, sorry, not Elson.
Shout out to Trip
Ison.
Shout out to Trip Ison. Go fuck yourself. Go on.
So he's the former guitarist, and there's just like been constant, you know, up and down with him entering and exiting the band. You know, him was it?
Why don't you Wikipedia? Look up his Wikipedia page. Go Google him.
Koichi Fukuda. He was guitar player. Left the band.
Yeah.
Trip filled in. He gets arrested. Wayne asked Koichi to come back to
some pretty fucked up stuff is what he got arrested for.
So yeah, he is, I mean, kind of blacklisted as far as like.
And then he comes out, makes a statement saying, I wrote some of those songs, some of those concepts were mine. And they gave him like, you know, credits on the album. I don't know what more he wants, you know, other than people or like for them to be like, yeah, we stole your fucking song. Like, what do you want from us, dude?
Yeah.
Why don't you go fucking diddle some kids?
He claimed that the 12 songs on the album were co-written by him during his time in the band, and then accused the band of attempting to release his work and make money basically
2
off
fucking
of him
albums,
and not
dude.
pay him royalties, but by altering the songs. So it was one of those.
Hey Trip, what you doing now? What are you like in a? Do you have your own band or like are you like a touring musician? No, you ain't doing shit besides bitching.
So yeah, that's kind of where that went. Whereas like he claims he wrote the songs, that they're gonna alter the songs and release it, and not give him credit to avoid paying royalties. The band ultimately confirmed that they were using his contributions, but they said that that they were only his contributions to the album. Getting a little confused here. They stated on Instagram that Ison had no involvement in the studio whatsoever, and that his contributions to the album are previous composition credits only. So they only credited him with 3 of the songs on the album, and they credited him as T. Salvador on the CD notes. They don't even give him his real name in the CD notes. They're just trying to get away from that as much as possible. So
that guy got fired from all his bands when that shit happened. You know, they were like, no, and this was like 2000.
Yeah, he was
6 or something.
For people just wondering, he was kind of in the whole Me Too. Then when the wave was crashing, it was just kind of
like 14 years. He was the first one to get it, dude.
Yeah, but it just in the music community, as far as like, you know,
and Twiggy Ramirez got it too. You know, Jordy White from
So
I don't know, Perfect Circle,
I think
Marilyn Manson.
all these people at that time, like
Nine
we're talking
Inch Nails.
about, all these they're coming from points in their life when they were doing heavy drugs and touring the country,
Maybe
and
there was
and like
16-year-old girl
well, that's
in
what
some
I'm
small
saying.
town.
You play a small town, and you're in this band that we're kind of it is this kind of pop of metal in a way. So it does cater, I'm not saying it's exclusive for young girls, but it's, younger girls are probably going to be listening to Korn more than Death. You know what I mean? Like at that point.
Yeah, this is more like this music is pretty accessible to everyone. Like you get it right away.
Yeah,
you don't have to like it, but it's not.
And not to say girls don't
metal.
like Death either. Yeah. I'm just saying at that point, at that time too, it was just this like, we had like ICP and just it was this weird point in music where like, it wasn't gender stereotyping, but it also was like kind of, it still was male dominated.
Yeah, but females are like starting to show up to the metal scene more at this time.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
and this music allowed
thanks,
that.
Hot Topic.
Because of the image being on MTV.
And these guys were kind of good looking too. Like Marilyn Manson was very
Wayne was kind of, had this image to him. He kind of
true. His was a little bit more of like the Slim Jim dude, but
but
where
still,
it was just like I can see
he was not
like
a fat guy.
Yes.
It wasn't like.
But that song Cold. And everyone just being like, fucking Aaliyah, and she tragic, died during that movie. And then that song is like very, in some ways, touching because it kind of like makes you feel, because it's such an emotional song and something tragic happened on that movie. And for whatever reason, they put that song on the album. But he also like does one of the covers on there too, just him singing one of those Korn songs. We've already talked about this.
Yeah. So just kind of finishing up on the
go fuck yourself, Trip.
So yeah, he gets those writing credits and I guess does some additional lyric work. We have Al Jorgensen stepping in on some additional vocals.
Oh, last song, man.
The last song, Dead Souls. Nick Dibbs, who we talked about, did some of the programming and additional music. Tommy Schaffner did additional programming. Edsel Dope, who was the executive producer. And then you have Ulrich Wild, who did the mixing, mastering, engineering. Basically, the guy we've talked about multiple times. Did Power Man, did Pantera, every band in this time. Oh, the guy that
created new metal. Wait, what's his name again?
Ulrich Wild. He's did Static X, Pantera.
I'm just chiming in a little music.
Deftones. He came up on our Deftones episode.
Of course he did.
Yeah, so he's kind of all over. This album also on Otsego Entertainment Group. Not really sure, but that's distributed through Orchard Music, which is a subsidiary of Sony. So just this kind of level. Sony, then Orchard, and then Otsego. So it's just, multiple chains. About a 40-minute album, 31 minutes. Producers is Zero and Ulrich. So those are the two. And we kind of said Zero had a lot of credits. Probably the most credits. Guitar, programming,
and we still don't know who
production,
he is.
Engineering. This album pretty much
don't touch the desk.
We got the desk here, chiming in. Pretty much like a labor of love. Whoever he is, kind of like putting a lot of work into it to make it happen. As far as him personally.
Who the fuck is Zero? It can. I just can't wait for this whole pandemic to be over and we can reschedule this motherfucking tour. Because all the interviews I was watching and doing research for this, they were like literally like talking like, yeah, we're gonna go on tour for this. We got it all ready. Everything's set to go. And I'm just thinking when I'm watching this, because it was like, 2019 in December, I'm like, oh God damn, dude, you have no idea what's coming in a couple of months where everything just gets fucked,
Yeah.
And that seems to be a topic that comes up a lot,
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure once
obviously
things get back to normal, we'll have the Static X
Oh
coming
yeah,
through here doing their thing.
I'm going.
Oh yeah. Um, but I mean, as far as that, we kind of went over a lot of the details on our previous episode over the single, which was Hollow Project Regeneration, which was the first kind of song they released.
Yeah, I felt like I've heard multiple like songs on this album.
Yeah, they did release another one. Hollow was that first one, and then they
All these years.
all these years,
Yeah.
yeah. So
And then it feels like I've heard Worth Dying For as well, you know? And I don't know if it's just like,
maybe just because like through the years of maybe you heard a B-side on something.
I don't know if it was that or this album just, it sounds so familiar that all these songs sound like I've kind of heard them before. You know what I mean? Where it's just, it's familiar. And maybe that's why, like, it's still kind of early to see, like, how, like, when did this album drop?
Yeah.
No, when did this album drop?
Oh, I mean, it came out July 10th.
July 10th.
Literally 4 days ago from now.
So you see what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like we don't have enough time to even know, like, Metacritics are going to give it and stuff like that. But what I've seen on the internet so far, people are liking it because it's like Static X. It sounds good. You could put it on and it just flows. The whole album seems really good.
It does really flow.
I put it on and I was thinking like, oh, like again, like this is a chore. I have to listen to this for the podcast. But it just went by to the point where I was like, I looked at my phone. I was like, oh shit, it just started over. I'm like, all right, I'm on song 3, you know? It's like, I was just so caught up in it that it literally just turned over. And I didn't even realize it until it got to like one of those songs that I know, like
You like had repeated
all these years where I was like, oh, I've heard that song like a million times now. Which is another thing is like next time when a band comes out with a single, I'm just going to listen to it once and just walk away. Because I feel like I do that all the time. I'll like burn out that single. And then when I get to the album, then I have to skip it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, that did happen with me in listening to this. I was like, the first listen, I re-listened to it.
Yeah.
But then I was like, okay,
and I kept checking on Spotify. I was like, oh, like it keeps popping up. I was like, oh, they finally came out with it. It was like, no, it's just like another single. Yeah. Like they just came out with like another single, you know? And that's kind of like the formula nowadays where it's like you come out with like 2 or 3 singles before you even drop the big album. And in some cases, like it's really good ideas to like make music videos too. Like drop the single, make a video, get people hyped.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, what I'm hyped for is we're going to get one, maybe possibly another one of these. Like 2 more.
Because they said volume 1.
Yeah. We got,
and
volume 2.
That there, yeah.
Volume 2 is on their...
It's in the works already?
It's in their discography listed. Let me see if there is a release date. But no, there's I mean, of course, all this COVID shit's probably going to put another hampering. Maybe on some, maybe not
recording.
Yeah,
yeah. That depends on how far they live from each other, the bandmates. Yeah,
like you said, it did kind of hinder it. They did that second single all these years with the music video, and then they announced that the standard, the streaming and the CD was basically going to get pushed back to July 10th. And the vinyl is actually pushed to August 14th.
So it did slow down the production work, or at least getting the album out.
Tony said the album is 100% complete. We're just waiting on manufacturing to resume. And so once that was done, then...
And a whole new album?
I'm sorry?
Or this for Volume 2?
Well, I mean, for this one.
Oh.
So, but again,
saying, right.
that will also, given... that they probably will be able to record volume 2 and get all that maybe sorted out during all these times. Releasing it'll probably be another maybe pre-summer release. Yeah. Maybe in the spring.
I'm sure they're working on it right now since they do have time. You know, they're not.
Well, you want to tour it too, right? So it's like
they're not slowed down by touring, so they can work on volume 2.
That's what,
and then tour the fuck out of volume 1, and then go back and get the rest of volume 2 probably hashed out. I don't know how they work, but I'm assuming that they're still doing something to, get ready for the tour or just keep the band moving forward in some ways, which is, again, I get why people were like weirded out about this because it's like Static X is around again. It's like Wayne Static was Static X. How is that possible? But I think Wayne Static would not mind or would probably even love the idea of like Static X being able to survive something like Gwar, where like, you know, Dave Brocky said, he was like, the best thing about Gwar is even if one of us dies, you can replace the character in the Gwar to fit the same storyline, if you will. Like he died in battle, so therefore we have a new.
I think
singer.
Gwar
That's
definitely
such a great
fits
idea. Yeah,
that scenario a lot better.
but that's why you have like Zombie Zero over here. You know what I mean?
That's a good way to do it. Is have somebody put on a mask, and I mean it's the ghost thing.
Yeah, and
Ghost can always be ghost because you can always have people come in and out, and that's the way they've structured the band.
Like
is to
be
this rotating cast. Maybe it is 2 albums, you get the same members, and maybe whatever. But it kind of Queens of the Stone Age like too. We talked about where it's like he has people that just come in. It's a rotating group.
Yeah.
Maybe this person's there for 5 albums. Maybe they're there for 1.
But I think this is going to be the opposite, where it's like the bass player, guitar player, and drummer are the owners of the band, and the singer Zero always going to be in and out.
Well, like
different
Queens
people,
of Stone
maybe,
Age, you couldn't
know what I mean?
replace I guess. You know.
No, you replace the rest of the band. But in this case scenario, it's like since we don't have our Wayne Static, you know,
But that's kind of that gets to be the
Yeah.
controversy where it's like, luckily this guy can sing and sound pretty much like him, and it's kind of a unique style. But
all the original members,
And
the
that
drummer
too.
hasn't played with them in over 14 years, people.
Yeah.
And he came back to do this. I mean,
but that's where it's
he's
like
the first person he met when he moved to Los Angeles, you know?
that's where the controversy, I guess, that first kind of controversy topic we were talking about, we're having the band reunite, that could like turn some people off because this guy's dead.
I think
you know
there's always going to be people out there to, you know,
they found a
express their
storyline.
opinions in just being hateful,
Yeah.
or just
I mean,
to have
people
something
are
to
going to probably
bitch
feel
about.
the same about
Yeah.
Gwar, but Gwar luckily
Something to bitch
has
about.
this like story they can like attach to it. Static X has this story / face they can attach to it where it's like really hard.
The hair is so iconic.
Yeah.
So the zombie mask works because you know it's him. Like no one else did that.
Yeah. So it some stuff like a Rob Zombie, maybe. Like what if Rob Zombie, God forbid, passed away and then you had somebody that knew him. We don't know who it is, but they dressed up like a literal zombie and sang the songs.
We had
Wouldn't that be
Spider.
cool?
Yeah, we had
Like,
Spider.
would that be cool? Maybe. I would have to see it and like
Pyramid
hear it.
5000 do it.
Exactly. If you had something like that,
You had your brother do it. If,
yeah.
just like I don't know, Leonard Skinner. You know,
Well, there's the Skinner, there's the Led
AC/DC.
Zeppelin thing where like Led Zeppelin gets back together,
Yeah.
but has Jason Bonham play the drums.
that's pretty fucking
like,
cool. Yeah.
You know,
Or like the AC/DC, you know,
Or that
you
too.
lose your lead singer. You
get
know?
Axl Rose.
I think what we're trying to say is like, just don't use drugs, don't abuse drugs. All right, like come on, people. You know, be smart. You know,
Yeah. Static X luckily has this I think fan appreciation and just the image, everything going for them to where they can keep doing this. I think if there was any little thing different, probably wouldn't work.
Do you
know?
remember one of their music videos where it was like a scene where it's like Wayne Static like kind of filming a porno, and he like gets up out of bed to like yell at someone that came in, and it has like the black bar over his penis, but it's like super long, like to the ground, and it's dangling. It's so funny, dude. I was just thinking that. I was like, man, what a great sense of humor. What a great band, you know? It always seems so fun, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, that's why people are attracted to this. But it's also, you know, let's not have too much fun. Let's remember you're in your 40s, you can't drink every day. But I was just thinking of some great Wayne Static moments. Him playing with the Executioners. I wish he could have been around more, you know, like in a movie. I think he might have been like in a background scene of a movie.
Yeah,
might have been Queen of the Damned, you know.
like that.
And I love his personality. I love listening to interviews with him. What a fucking awesome dude. And I fucking love this band, like Tony Campos, the original drummer. Like, I can't believe that guy's like in his 50s, like hammering out shit like this, where I'm like, dude, that's what I'm talking about. Exercise, meditation, being hydrated.
Yeah.
And you can do this. As well as, I I can't say the guitar player's name, but I've always loved that guy. Like he was on the first album, and he also did Start a War, and I believe probably Cannibal as well. But I don't know where that guy comes from. But he's the thickest accent ever. When interviews are being done, he barely talks because it's a lot of broken English. So I'm really just surprised about that too.
Yeah.
It's like what a cast of like misfits to come together.
Yeah. I'm gonna end on some final thoughts with my MVP of the album. I'm gonna have to say it's Zero, just because he did so much. Runner up would be Tony, because he's kind of the one that
he is
found it.
Yeah, he might be
I think I'm gonna throw it to Zero just for how much work and
no credit he's getting.
Yeah, like the real guy. So I mean, I'm gonna say he's the MVP.
He gets a check
for this this project, And then I had a favorite song. I'd go with song 10, that Ostego Placebo. First, it has the biggest like drop from like fast to slow to like groove to all that.
Yeah. Terminator Oscillator too. What a great fucking song.
I don't know what song that is. I think it's I don't know.
Stupid iPhone.
Yeah.
It's not working.
But yeah, I mean, if I was, and also another band, if I was going to say another band, if people like this album, go listen to.
That would be like right after Worth Dying For. So like song 4.
So, oh yeah, Terminator Oscillator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like another one. It's like Worth Dying For, Terminator Oscillator.
Yeah.
All these years, these just flow. And then Accelerator. Yeah. Holy shit, that was a good one too. Like so fast. Do you just want to play a little bit of that? Just a little bit.
Yeah. If you like stuff like this, I'd probably say go listen to like Ministry. This is very Ministry-like. That's the band I would say if you're like, it's not going to be quite detuned as this, but it's a good, like, if you're liking this and you've never heard the like newer Ministry stuff, go check out from the last like 10 years. But yeah, that would be my say as far as bands. And then you also have Al on songs, here. So dude. Like,
yeah, the last song being
Dead Souls.
Dead Souls.
So yeah, if you do like any of that, if you do like this album, I would say go listen to Ministry.
Yeah, or check out other Static X albums if you're if you're just now like getting into it. You knew the song from the Queen of the Damned soundtrack, but you didn't fucking deep dive into it. They got some really good songs. If you like that cold stuff, in every album they got something that's a little emotional in there and something that's a little dreadful. Kind of create that atmosphere if that's what you're kind of going for, But they also have just those rockin', fast-paced songs where you can't help but to just bob your head, And I would say if you're going to listen to this, go out and listen to like MSI's first album. They crazy mismatch of shit too, where it's like screaming on top of like techno. Because you got to think techno was kind of a big thing at this time too.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much my final.
That's pretty much a wrap for this episode. Yeah. We're trying to keep it a little bit shorter so you guys can bang these out. Please let us know if you would like a little bit more music in there, or let us know what you're thinking about, or the change.
How's it sounding?
Yeah, we'll perfect this a little bit more. We'll get it to be typo. All right, we're a little loose right now, but we'll get it there. Please follow us Instagram at BANGover Productions. You can just type in BANGover. You're gonna find us first. All right, BANGover Productions. Again, merch. We got plenty of merch too. Masks. We have masks, mugs, pins, stickers, obviously shirts. We're working on new designs right now with some local artists, some friends of ours. And you can find that at TeePublic, or you could just go on to one of our social media pages and you'll find a link there. All that stuff is right now being discounted. But again, YouTube, ring that bell, fucking Instagram, find us, Spotify, follow us.
Go get yourself a BANGover mask if you ain't got a mask.
Yeah, and we got plenty of other episodes we're working on, Twitch live stream, plus the We Are Horrible podcast will be coming out with a new episode this week as well.
Look at that.
Yeah, and go listen to their previous episode that I was on. We talk the Green Inferno. Right. And I did my first recording of it. I was producer, and I fucked up the sound, so apologies. I didn't know what I was doing. All right, but we're learning.
We got Power Man 5000 coming up also,
so we're gonna be here again.
We're gonna be there.
Yeah. And then we're gonna pick some something weird, maybe a Mr. Bungle, maybe
Something weird. Maybe something classic.
Yeah, Dillinger Escape Plan. I know we're definitely gonna do AC/DC. 40 years, people. 40 years. Oh my god. All right. Well, thanks again for listening, and please check out all our other episodes. Oh my god. What is this, number 62?
Probably we're past the 60s now, I think. So.
Find an album that you love, and we'll sit there and talk about it with you.